Okay, so my name's Sebastian, and I'm doing avatar-based smartphone application for research this summer. My mentor is Dr. Yubing, and this is what we're doing. So we have 5 major goals currently. Our first goal is to explain what HeartLove is. HeartLove is the name of the app or the toolkit that we're going to develop to allow people to understand heart failure patients better access about knowledge about their heart failure, and through an avatar, through a smart-based phone application or an avatar. Our second goal, how is it set up? Basically, the project started with Shure and their funding and their support, and we started really pretty much from the ground up. We had an idea, and this is just us taking that idea and moving forward. The third thing is this app allows heart failure patients to learn about their disease and to manage it. So that's the major goal that HeartLove focuses on, educating people and heart failure patients and allowing them to manage their disease. The fourth thing is the short-term goal is we're looking for a feasibility study to see, hey, is this practical? Are people going to respond to the app and the avatar and this form of education? Are they going to get involved like a gaming mindset, or are they going to say like, hey, this isn't for me, this is not what I want to do? And then the long-term thing and the last and final thing is our concept right now is focusing on heart failure, but the major thing can be applied to many different, the concept of the avatar and the education can be applied to diabetes, it can be applied to cancer, it can be applied to many different chronic conditions. Initially, we focused on heart failure because we found that older populations found it difficult to interact with a smartphone, whereas younger people are a lot more computer savvy and are used to having their phone around. So we're going to start with heart failure patients, we're going to start with the younger population, and then in the future, we know that heart failure patients are going to be more older, and we know that like diabetes and cancer and all this will be applied in the future if it works out, if this feasibility study shows and demonstrates that it's a possibility, that it's practical. So what we're doing is basically this project started initially when Dr. Yubing was working at Mount Sinai, and she was working with kids that had leukemia and they were in contact isolation. And basically what she did was she worked with Spielberg, and they had these patients that were in contact isolation use the avatar to communicate with other patients. And it increased their white blood cell counts and made them happier and made them more excited to live. The goal of the project, smartphones are the future of medicine. It's just everyone has a smartphone pretty much, and more people are getting involved with that. So we're trying to incorporate that into medicine to allow for a better relationship between the nurse and the patient and the physician and the patient. Define the scope of the project. In 2007, there was a study that said that virtual patient advocates, or the avatar, right, is beneficial to patients. Patients were able to work with it. So we're incorporating that concept and trying to create more data that demonstrates that the avatar or the virtual patient advocate is actually useful. This is the blood pressure cuff and the scale that we'll be using, and I'll show you a quick demonstration a little bit later. So the current status, basically we're using the gold standard, which is the Dutch heart failure scale, and what that means is that people with heart failure are asked us specific questions, and that's what the survey did. The survey asked people questions on heart failure. So the task that what we completed was I created a survey in a program called Qualtrics, and I asked patients what they thought about heart failure, if they had swelling, if they took their medication, and they did it in 2 forms, one with the avatar and one without the avatar. And therefore, we were able to compare the results to see whether the avatar or the virtual patient advocate was beneficial, people responded to that. Currently, we're looking to have a pilot study in the future in the fall pilot study with more patients, 100 patients with heart failure that have the avatar, and 100 patients that don't have the avatar. We're going to see if their readmission rates are affected. And then the last thing is just one of the major issues, of course, with any research is getting funding and getting an interactive avatar. Our avatar right now is interactive, but it's not as we want it, like, ultimately. Here's a short video that I have for you that shows you a little bit more about the blood pressure cuff. Okay, so like I said, finding funding and creating an interactive avatar is going to be the next major issue that we're going to have. The way that we're going to resolve this is by, hopefully, with funding, we'll be able to provide a programmer that's a nurse who will be able to help us make that avatar, make those few adjustments that we need to make it a little bit more responsive. So if you say that you had a bad day and you didn't take your medication, we'll say, all right, well, let's try better next time. Or if you take your blood pressure and it's really high, we're going to say, okay, let's call the doctor. Let's get more interactive to prevent. We're very preventative. The SURE program provided the funding for the Qualtrics survey and for the blood pressure cuff, and without that, it wouldn't have been possible. Qualtrics is a simple interactive survey thing that we used. Hopefully, Mount St. Mary's will be able to get that as well. Analysis. Major goal of people of 2012 is to decrease the amount of readmission rates in the hospital, and that's another major thing that we're trying to do, because when people are readmitted into the hospital, insurance doesn't pay for that. It's all covered by the hospital. So basically, we're looking for 2 insurance companies into hospitals to say, hey, if this virtual patient advocate or HeartLove works at decreasing readmission rates, we're going to save you money. And therefore, hopefully, they'll be able to jump on board with that. So here's 2 of the videos that I used for the Qualtrics survey. And basically, it would ask you questions like, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? And then the other video shows the patient just seeing the words of the text. This is the results of a survey. Currently, the survey was just implemented earlier in the week. So the results they're still ongoing. I think roughly we have, Dr. Ewing has like 7 to 10 patients. Professor Sabatino has a few patients that he's heart failure patients. I'm going to talk to Dr. Lyons and at Vassar to see if he has more patients, to see if we can possibly get better results for that. Here's our timeline. So our timeline is to create a Qualtrics survey, to find an interactive avatar, to get affiliated with the hospital in the Northeast, and to begin and collect the data by the fall of 2015. Looking ahead, the next milestone is to create an interactive avatar. Our goal is to find the avatar increases people's accountability, and then we're looking for more funding and consistently always looking on funding because that's the major issue. Thanks to the SURE program, we were able to get our feet wet and really get the project started. This is kind of the major thing. The avatar that we used was Voki. The blood pressure cuff was by Withings, and then the survey was by Qualtrics. We're going to hopefully use a group called Mended Hearts that focuses on heart failure. We're also going to have an engineer, and we're going to get more of a team approach to be able to allow this project to flourish. Right now it's just Dr. Ubing and I, so it's kind of difficult when we're trying to expand our ideas, but this is basically our concept. The budget, roughly $200,000 I found for pilot studies. We're applying to UNICEF, and UNICEF has, I think, a good amount of funding opportunities. The design, another option would be we can rent the blood pressure cuff, and that would decrease it. Instead of purchasing one for each patient, we can rent it. And then our marketing plan, like I said, is to talk to insurance companies and hospitals and say, hey, if we can demonstrate that we can show through the pilot study we're decreasing readmission rates, why can't you help partner with us to be able to make this successful? Of course, I want to thank Dr. Ubing for all our support, Dr. Moran, and the SURE program. You guys made this possible. Collaboration with Dr. Kirk, she helped me out so much with the Qualtrics. I wasn't able to do it without her. And the School of Nursing, Dr. Sagar, Dr. Ackerman, Professor Sabatino, and then, of course, Eric Langstead, communications, helped me with figuring out the avatar. Voki, UNICEF, I want to thank my mom, my friends, and of course the SURE participation in the SURE program. We had a lot of fun this year, and I learned a lot. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Good. I like it. I want you